All right, let's take it for a spin. Woo! Well, hello my friends, Kevin here, and thanks for watching this video in our Bottom Line series, where we focus on everything about custom lower trucks. And as always, I want to ask everybody to like this video and also to subscribe to this channel, as it helps us produce more videos in the future. Well, with that out of the way, let's continue on with our video, which is a bit of a comparison between Fords versus Chevys. It's ongoing. You know, some people go on either side of the camp. For me, I'm a bit more biased on the Chevy side because that's kind of all I've known with my family. I've had a few trucks, and I also have a 62 GMC that I'm working on, which is, you know, pretty similar to a Chevy anyways. But I wanted to see things from a different perspective, so what better place to go than Fat Fender Garage, as these guys specialize in old F100s. So yeah, strap on your helmets as we're about to crash into the world of F100s. Hey Jason, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Kevin? How you doing, man? All
right. Well, we're doing a little bit of a video here, and I want to find out a little bit of a comparison. I want to see a perspective of somebody that's on the Ford side of why they may think that F100s are better than Chevy C10s.
Well, are F100s better than Chevy C10s? Yes. Well, that depends, right? So we have a lot of Fords that are becoming more popular these days, and so they're increasing value. They're more visible. People are starting to notice them a lot more. And so then the question is which one do you like most, right? And so I actually like, if you're gonna say, Jason, which truck do you like the most? I'm gonna lean towards the Ford side. It's just got a little bit more softer place in my heart. I love the Chevy stuff too, but at the same time, I really, really love the Fords, mostly because there's not a lot of people playing in that field, right? So it's like when you sign up for a baseball team, right? It sucks if there's like 50 kids on your team, right? You're never gonna play. But you sign up and there's only 9 or 10, you're probably gonna play a little bit more. So you get a little bit more opportunity to kind of be the star of the team, right?
Exactly, exactly. So moving on that, with more guys picking up some Fords, you know, that we haven't seen before, they've gotten a little popularity. I think they've been chasing Chevys because I would say the last 10, 15 years, those C10s have just like skyrocketed since there. And it's even gone beyond that. Chevy OBS is the next thing. But how is the market like for F100s or picking one up, a decent project? Because I can tell you, it's really tough for getting Chevys these days, even though there's plenty of them out there. Finding a rust-free one, pretty much, you know, it's a long shot. So yeah, how was it like?
So obviously the more people that are interested in Ford pickup trucks, the harder they're gonna be able to find, right? So I do believe there were more Chevy pickup trucks produced. It just feels like it when you're looking, there's a lot of Chevy. Or the Ford guys are just holding on to theirs more. They're not selling them like, you know, I don't think Chevy guys like to sell their stuff all the time. I'm not sure what it is, but you just see more Chevys for
Maybe
sale.
we don't have attachments, I guess.
No attachments, and the Ford guys got attachment issues, right? But the Ford trucks are starting to become harder to find, especially good, clean, solid ones. And so that's like anything. When they become a little bit more scarce, hard to find, then the value just keeps going up and up. And so you got to be really careful when you're looking at your trucks and buying something. I see a lot of guys that were overpaying for things that are just absolutely garbage, right? Yeah. And you can do that in any industry, obviously, but you just want to be careful. But the Fords are starting to climb up. Chevy guys are buying Fords because they're kind of getting tired of Chevys. And so I'm starting to see some of the Ford guys complaining like, gosh, dang it, you know, they're getting harder to find, and they really are.
All right, so we know kind of some of the reasons and why there's some popularity in Fords, why they've been rising lately. But I want to know, what are the popular models? I mean, to me, I've seen a lot of 67 to 72, the bump side F100s, which are pretty much the counterpart to the 67 to 72 Chevy C10s that everybody absolutely loves. Yeah. You tell me. I mean, we've also got a 50s model behind us that's, you know, for a time, I mean, that was pretty much it when you talked about classic trucks. Back in the day, man, I just picture old Ford trucks is what I pictured. Right. So what's a more popular truck these days?
Well, it depends on your age, right? So if you're in your like 60s, this might be the truck that you just love. Okay. Right? So like all things, you know, you think back and look back at the truck maybe your dad or grandfather had, right? So that kind of becomes real popular. But the 1956 Ford, of all Ford trucks, is the quintessential hot rod pickup truck. I don't care if you're Ford, Chevy, I don't care who you are, this is the truck, especially if you had a big back window. That was like it. Hot rodding a Ford pickup truck or any truck back then, these were the ones that everyone's doing it to. So in my opinion, it's like the classic hot rod Ford pickup truck, right? Now, We deviate from there. You've got the 57 to 60s, which were kind of, in my opinion, they were the ugliest of all the trucks, right?
Well, I actually like them when they're cleaned up. They actually look really good.
They're kind of cute nowadays, right? You start to like, like a mother loves his child, right? I like it. It's starting to become more popular. They're definitely getting, they call it the fridge look, that classic Coca-Cola, refrigerator style,
exactly.
right? So, and then you go into the slick sides and the unibodies, from there, the 61 to 66. Right? And the 64, 66, those tend to be the more popular trucks just because they're easier to adjust the suspension. Kind of same with Chevys, right?
Right.
Exact same with Chevys. The earlier 60s trucks, nobody wants them because of the frame, right? Hard to fix up. But then you get to 67, 72, and that is kind of like, in my opinion, you go from here, 67, 72, tons of people are upgrading those, as well as 73, 79.
What about unicorns? Are there any special models that people are really seeking out that are really hard to find?
Well, the unicorns in the Ford world seem to be the crew cabs. If you have a crew cab, especially a four-wheel drive crew cab, and I think that's one thing I've noticed the difference between Ford and Chevys, is that the Ford four-wheel drive pickup trucks are gaining massive traction right now. Like, it really is like over the top, almost overvalued, and especially if you got a crew cab, because you got some rich guy that's driving his brand new 2023 crew cab, Ford, and he's like, hey, I also want a 1967, 72 or 73, 79 crew cab. And so they'll go get that, they'll put new motor, tranny, whatever they want, and then they got this massive, cool, big Ford crew cab. So those are kind of the unicorns. They're hard to find, especially one that hasn't been, junked up.
All right, well, the next thing I want to find out is suspension. We do a lot of lower trucks. I know in the past that was a little bit different or a little bit difficult because the Ford front ends are more catered towards the off-road market. You have the twin I-beam suspensions. You have solid straight axles in the front. I think guys they were pulling off, it was a Volare or whatever that vehicle was that they were pulling front ends off of before, some of the modern stuff came out now. Yeah. So how's that like now?
Well, you're right. In the early days, you would have the Volare would end up in these trucks often. And the twin I-beams, I've watched these old commercials with the twin I-beams just showing how better they are than the Chevy, and I don't buy it.
Oh man, at least you got some honesty. So, I love that. I love that. I actually love that.
So I don't love the twin I-beam. I feel like, yes, there was a place and purpose, and you know how it is. You don't want to be exactly like your competitor. So some Ford engineer said, listen, we can make these little pivoting things, and it'll be like, independent suspension. It's horrible. You can't do anything to it, right? Guys make these drop beams that they put on there, and that's okay. But you have tons of problems with spring issues and
alignment, all that, getting it right. I've heard that the way you align those trucks is basically you heat them up, hammer them. You just kind of like just finagle everything around, and it's like it just doesn't sound like an exact science.
It's not ideal. So today, people are just basically yanking all that stuff out. Yeah. So you have guys that are taking Crown Vic front end. They made millions of those, right?
Right, and that's more on the economical side, because you can find those
that is economical.
In a junkyard.
You can.
Pull that stuff, and some of them, 6772s, you can bolt them right up.
It is. It's practically a bolt-in. The width tends to be a little bit wide on those, just a little bit. And so there's some guys that try to make different upper lower control arms to help compensate. They make kits, and you can do all kinds of stuff with the Crown Vic that you can do in the 67 to 79. Like, they've got some nice kits for that. I think it's only a temporary solution, because I think, like, we got away from the Volare, we got away from like truck clips and all those kinds of things that people are using, and that people are just going to start grafting in just more modern, up-to-date suspension. So that seems to be what's happening. So you're noticing a chassis a lot, right? Just ditch the whole thing, put it on a chassis, and the next thing we're doing at our shop is we actually have front and back half kits for all the Ford pickup trucks. Not everybody can afford a brand new chassis, right?
Yeah.
And they've had this truck in their family. They work hard, they're blue collar, they got enough money to do something, but what they have is usually more time than money. And so if they can put some sweat equity into it, they're better off, right? So we want to make that kit where a guy can say, hey, I can put sweat equity into it, I can chop this off, I can bolt it on here, but it will ride nearly as good as a new chassis.
Exactly. Well, I kind of would like to say that I think the Chevy's got a little bit of a win there, because I've dealt with them before. I've lowered C10s before, you know, put like 2-4 drops on them, 4-5 drops on them, and it's relatively easy. I had a job that took me about 2-3 days, you know. Bear in mind there was a lot of rust, so that's where the issues start coming up when you're modifying these things. But sounds like it's a little bit easier. You know, dealing with those twin I-beams is no bueno.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
All right, so on the Chevy side, a lot of guys are using modern LS engines because basically they're everywhere. Not only are they everywhere, to be able to pull them out of a junkyard, they're pretty economical as well, and they're just killer. They're just solid. I mean, you can run those things all day. You can hop them up. You can get a lot of power out of them. How is it on the Ford side? What are people using to get more power out of their trucks?
So a lot of guys are using a Mustang motor, right? So you watch all the videos of guys wrecking the Mustangs. We're saying, great, that comes to our shop, right? But you know, to be honest, they're using a 5-liter Coyote motor out of a Mustang GT. That's like the coveted motor right there. So the difference between LS's is a lot of times maybe you're using like a truck or Tahoe motor, a 5.3, right? Or 6.2 out of a Camaro. We actually can pack more punch in a 5-liter, smaller displacement, and get more power out of it than you can out of the LS's. And so a little bit of a win there for the Ford.
Yeah, I would say so. And the last video we shot, I went in Jason's shop truck and I went on the throttle and oh my God, I almost spun the thing out and crashed it. I mean, it's so much power that I didn't even think was there. And you know, it just, to my surprise, just when I, you know, just tapped it and it's like, hey, here we go, we're along for a ride.
I thought for sure we were in the curb. I thought, well, in my mind, I'd already gone through the process. New tires, new wheels, okay, that's about right. And he saved it, luckily.
Exactly. Now, what's it like for costs and finding parts to make all that happen? Is it a little bit difficult? I know that the progression of that took a little bit longer. You know, guys have been using LSs for a while, and then it was like Coyotes. It was a little catch-up to get to that point.
It was a little bit. Well, Ford didn't actually have a Coyote motor till 2011, right? So you had the other 5-liter that you would have in the Mustangs and stuff, but really was problematic. I mean, you had, you know, spark plugs shooting out, you know, just all kinds of like little weird issues. And so in 2011, when the actual Mustang GT changed and they had this new 5-liter motor called the Coyote came out, that started to change everything. And you finally had also a program that Ford got behind about helping making control packs to help do the swap.
Yeah, and I want to ask a little bit about cost because I've seen it before, and difficulty because you know, like you were saying, you know, at 2011, that's when we started seeing Coyotes. Yep. We've had LSs forever, and I've seen LSs and F100s. Is that sacrilegious?
It's sacrilegious now.
But it worked then, you know?
It worked back then. But now that you have an option, yeah.
Exactly, but it still probably makes sense if, you know, if you're on an economic side, if you want to go a little bit cheaper route. Also, maybe some parts availability might be a little bit easier in doing so. If you want to, you know, you don't care about people having negative comments about your vehicle, you know, it will get it done, right?
Right.
So,
well, and cost is definitely an issue. So you could spend on kind of the low end if you're doing buying a Mustang GT. You could get a motor tranny for around pretty decent one for like $6,000 to $8,000.
Okay, yeah, that's not that bad.
It's not that bad. It used to be a little bit more. Then you got to buy a control pack that you can get from Ford if you want to keep it simple. That's going to cost you right around, you know, $2,000 to $2,500. Just kind of depends. So you can easily be $12,000 into the whole thing, but you're kind of ready to go. It's going to run. Yeah. But that's used. If you want to go new, you're going to be right around $20,000. But that's everything.
Yeah, exactly. If you get a built LS or a package from GM, it could cost you that much as well. Yeah. Some of these engines that have higher horsepower. So. All right, so Fords are a little bit harder to come by. You know, I think is it still ideal to get original parts to put back on your truck, or repops? Are they better? And is it easy to get repop parts for Ford trucks now?
So if you go to like LMC, Dennis Carpenter, there's a couple companies that produce a ton of stuff for the Ford pickup trucks and have for a long time. And so you can get almost everything for a Ford pickup truck that you need, just like the Chevy stuff. Now, not all, you know, like Chevys, not all makes and models get all the stuff, right? But you can really get a lot of stuff. Now, just like anything, repop stuff is repop stuff, right? So whether it's Chevy or Ford, it fits like any repop. You might have to massage it or anything.
You know, last time we went on a ride along, I want to see something different, see what it's like to ride in one of these Ford trucks. You got something that could work with us, right?
I do. We've got a 1979 Bronco, right? Which is essentially the exact same thing as a truck, other than it has this little thing on the back of it, right? And so I think we should go for a ride in that. We've done some upgrades to this truck. It came in recently for brakes, so hopefully they work, considering we never know what we're going to get with Kevin when he's driving, but it could be exciting. And so what we'll do is we'll go for a ride in this and have a good time in it. We put a Coyote motor in it.
Oh,
it's a four-wheel drive Bronco, so it's pretty cool. It's fun, and I think it's worth going for a ride in.
All right, let's check it out.
All right, let's go do it.
Oh, some nice acceleration there.
For a big old four-wheel drive truck.
Yeah, that's that gets up and goes.
Oh yeah.
Wow. All right.
We'll let you drive this thing because, I mean, don't wreck it.
All right.
All right.
I'm gonna go easy this time. All right, let's take it for a spin. Woo! Oh, that exhaust tone alone.
Yeah.
I'm going what, like 20 miles an hour? Oh my gosh.
The low notes on it, right?
Oh man, the feels are real here. Wow. Well, I've driven a newer Bronco, and I have to say, it's not too far off from here with drivability, coolness factor way up there. I mean, as far as that's concerned, I'd rather buy or have this built than to buy a new truck. Now, a lot of people are different. It takes a lot of effort to build, you know, a classic vehicle, but
sure.
You know, if you can get the funding, do so. Have somebody like Jason do it. It's all worth it. You know, you're not going to be wasting your money on it at all. So. Yeah, and look at this thing. We've got plenty of.
You might be wasting your money, but hey, you're gonna have fun at least.
Exactly. You know, it's priceless when you got a smile on your face.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
All right.
Sweet.
Well, that was awesome. You know, maybe you sold me a little bit on Fords. I try not to be biased. I shoot trucks for all different magazines and drive-in line and doing all sorts of things. So I like to, you know, keep my opinions aside and just kind of. Judge everything, or not judge everything, just kind of appreciate everything for what they are. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, thanks for having the time and letting me go for a little drive, man.
Yeah, absolutely,
appreciate
Kevin.
it.
You're always welcome here anytime you want to go for a ride. I mean, we do Chevys too, right? Like
yeah, I know, exactly.
We do a little of everything. We built some pretty cool Chevys out there. If you haven't seen the latest navy blue one we built, I always like to tease the Chevy crowd. And I said, Ford guys build the best Chevys.
All right, that was awesome to get some opinion from a Ford specialist. Me knowing a little bit more about Chevys, it's good to get that perspective in there, and so I can be a little bit less biased about them and just be open to them. I know a lot of guys are kind of closed off to different brands and all that stuff, and I think that kind of comes down to our heritage. Usually our family is either, you know, from either side, a Ford or a Chevy side, and it's hard to break away from that. Some guys do, not many do. But in my honest opinion, I do think these trucks are very similar. Really can get the same results out of them. But I do think the F100s are a little bit better in the style department for the sake of there's so many Chevys out there, especially 67 to 72 C10s that are out there. I've seen them in all different forms, and it's kind of hard to stand out. You bring a nice F100 that's all done up, you're definitely going to stand out from that crowd. So I see that as an absolute win. Well, that just about does it for this video, and it's time for me to sign off. Before I go, I want to ask everybody to like this video as it helps us produce more in the future. If you have anything to say about F100s versus C10s, drop that stuff in the comment section below because I want to hear your thoughts. Also, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a future video, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks for watching Driving Line. If you guys like this video, consider subscribing to our channel so you'll never miss any of the content we create here. Whether you're into trucks, Jeeps, imports, domestic vehicles, or anything in between, we are here to fuel your passion. So hit that subscribe button and we'll see you guys next time.